Hi, John McCann from Survival Resources. I have found that when you're out in the woods, you often can't find something when you want it. So what I normally recommend to people is always be looking for things that you might need later. You might need in a survival situation when you come across it in the woods. Be looking for this type of things. This becomes a habit for you to do this. While you're out hiking, if you're just exploring the woods, make it a habit to look for these things that might be useful later on. That way it'll become second nature to you. If you collect these things, you put them away in your pack, you put them in your pocket, you're going to have them when you need them. I call this grab it when you can. And that's important to me. Grab it when you can. That way you're going to have it when you need it. Let me show you a few examples of what I'm talking about. Hi, here's a good example of what I'm talking about. This is called mullein. This is a biennial plant. The first year you just get a rosette of leaves. They're like gray-green, green-gray. The second year, however, though, it starts to grow tall and it grows a large spike which has yellow flowers on it. This is known by a lot of people in the survival business as nature's Charmin. Why do we call it nature's Charmin? Well, whenever you're out in the woods or on some type of a survival trek, there's certain duties you always have to do, which normally is not when you find a mullein. So when you find a mullein, these leaves, as you can see, are large, and these are just as soft, unbelievably soft. So what you do is you take these and you roll them up and you put them in your pocket and you save them for later. And then sometime later today, when you have to do some other type of duty, these become the greatest toilet paper that you can find out in the woods. Believe me, this stuff is good. Hi there. This is another good example of things to be looking for while you're out here on a hike. Now, when I hike, I always have at least 38 ounces of water with me in my day pack, in a Guyute bottle. This gives me plenty of water during the day. However, tonight I'm going to want more water. I'm going to be drinking this during the day. So whenever I find something like a stream, what I want to do is collect more water. Now obviously my bottle is full right now, so I can't get any in there. But this is why I always carry an aqua pouch. An aqua pouch allows me to collect water while I'm traveling. I also carry a pre-filter. Place the pre-filter in its little holder here. I place that in the aqua pouch. This allows me to collect water as you can see. This is going to fill up my aqua pouch with water. Now this isn't purified water, but at least it's pre-filtered. I'm getting the debris out of it. Alright, as you can see, you now have this aqua pouch filled up to the 1 liter line. The reason why for this 1 liter line is that we can measure for water purification tablets. So we're going to take a water purification tablet. We're going to put it in the water. We're going to shake this up a little bit. We're going to zip it closed. Now, being this has grommets on it, I can either carry this or I can hook it to my pack. What I'm going to do is just put myself a parachute cord, little strap on it. This way I can carry this with me. It takes a couple of hours, especially this is pretty chilly water, in order to purify this water with the chlorine dioxide. So I'm going to carry this along with me, but tonight when I need water, I'm going to have extra water. Okay, now this is what I call a twofer. I was just down here getting water, as I showed you, and as I'm coming up out of the creek, I noticed this. This is known as yellow birch, also called curly birch here in the East. There's a reason why we call it curly birch. The bark on this curls off in little curls. This stuff comes off very easy. You can collect a lot of it. You can put it in your pocket. Whenever you need to have some real good dry tinder, you'll have this with you. I've been known at a lot of different events I've gone to pull out a little Ziploc bag and I'll have a lot of this curly birch with you. This is a great find in the woods. There's quite a few of them around here. Whenever I see one, I try to get some of the curly birch off it so that I have it for tinder later on. This is how you harvest it. Okay, as you can see here on the curly birch, there's a lot of real easy stuff that can be taken off here. It comes off so easy in your hand. You just grab it like this and you just keep taking off pieces. There's a lot of this on the tree. It's very easy to take off. You just grab the little curls and they come right out. When you're done, you have a handful like this. And what you do is you're going to buff this up, break down the fibers into smaller pieces, and you're going to be able to use this to start a fire real easy. There you have it. Curly birch, better known as yellow birch. This is good stuff. Just a quick lesson. This is some of that curly birch I got. What you want to do with this stuff is you want to buff it between your hands like this. This is going to break up all the fibers in this, and it's going to make it nice and lightable. There you have it. Quick fire from using curly birch. Of course, keep in mind you want all your tinder and your kindling sitting around here ready to go. This doesn't burn forever, but it does burn long enough for you to catch your other stuff. The tinder to be able to catch a spark is very important. Okay, you'll notice I haven't talked about edible plants in this video. There's a reason for that. I think that you should get a lot of excellent training in regard to edible plants, because even though you can utilize them in a survival situation, you have to be able to identify them properly. I suggest that you go to a very good edible plants instructor. On the East Coast, I always recommend Wildman Steve Brill. On the West Coast, I recommend Christopher Nurgis. These are both excellent instructors, and there's links to them on my website. There's a lot of books on this subject as well. Buy a lot of different ones, in my opinion, because you can get drawings, you can get photos. It gives you better comparisons in being able to identify these edible plants. However, while we're out here today, I happen to come along this white pine. As you can see, this is white pine. This makes a great nourishing tea. In order to make tea with this, what you have to do is harvest the needles. And the way you do that is you just slide your hands over the limbs. Nice and easy. You don't have to ruin the limbs. Just slide your hands down them. When you slide your hands down them, it's just going to rip off or tear off some of the pine needles. You're not hurting the limb, you're just taking needles off it. In a very short amount of time, you'll see you have a whole handful of pine needles. Being white pine, you will notice that it's a cluster of 5 needles. What I'm going to do is give you a close-up of this so you can actually see the 5 needles. Okay, now you know how to identify white pine. In my humble opinion, this is one of the best pine out there for a nourishing tea. The way you do this, once you harvest these needles, is you chop them up nice and fine and you put them in a cup or a pot of boiling water and you steep it like you would any other tea. What I've been known to do, obviously, is cut them up real fine, put them in a pot, fill it with water, and boil the heck out of it. Once it's done boiling, you let it cool, and I got myself tea. However you want to do it, that's up to you. But this is a great way to have a nutritious and relaxing drink while you're in a survival situation or around the campfire at night. Keep in mind, there's more vitamin C in a cup of pine needle tea than there is in a cup of orange juice or a glass of orange juice. So there you have it. Let's move on and we'll look for some more stuff. Okay, here's an example of another good find, at least for me, on a hike. This is more important to people who like to do spark-based fire using char cloth. Up here in the Northeast, finding chert is just almost impossible. You never find flint out in the woods. But what gives you a good spark up here is quartz. We have tons of quartz. A lot of it is large chunks, big pieces. Every once in a while when you're hiking though on a trail, you're going to find a small piece. This is a small piece of quartz. You're going to find that what I like about this, instead of being rounded, it has nice sharp edges on it. I'll show you how this sparks. Okay, this is the piece of quartz we found on the trail. One thing I always carry in my EDC key ring, you can see there's a little clip on it here, is this piece of cut down file. I cut this off a larger machinist file. The reason why I use this particular file is, as you can see, the sides do not have the actual filings on it. It is smooth steel on both sides. And the reason why I carry this small thing on my EDC key ring is so I can test rocks that I find to see if they're hard enough to create sparks. One thing I want you to understand with this is the sparks are created by the hard stone that you find, but the sparks come off of the steel. This is where the sparks come from. What you're doing is scraping shavings off this steel. So when I say look at the sparks created by this stone or by this rock, I don't mean that the sparks are coming from this. I mean the sparks are being created by the stone and are being made by pieces of small steel being scraped off this thing here. Okay, let's hit this a few times and just see if we can get some sparks off this thing. All right, as you can see, this creates some nice sparks here. Yep, what you're looking for is a nice sharp edge, which is what I'm hitting with my striker. And you see a lot of sparks coming off this striker. They're being created by this. They're coming off of this. Anyway, this is a good piece of little quartz that I found on the trail. I'm going to keep it. Anyway, quartz, a great thing to find out in the woods. Any rock that'll spark is great to find in the woods. But I find quartz, especially with a nice sharp edge. Always carry yourself a little carbon steel striker. You'll be able to test these rocks to make sure they're good for you. When you find one, take it with you, put it away. You may not need it today, you may not need it tomorrow, but you may need it sometime. So collect these things, carry them with you. Let's carry on. Well, there you have it. Grab it when you can. This is just a short example of some of the things you can find out in the woods. But when you're out there, if you make it a habit, second nature, to look for these things, when you need them in a survival situation, you're going to have them with you because you grabbed them when you found them. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for joining us. Please check out our website at survivalresources.com. As always, I'd like to thank you for your support of both our store and of our videos. And we'll see you next time around.